Hey, I'm Tracy Panach, the Better Coach, and welcome to my YouTube channel, where I help women move from feeling bitter to better after breakups, date better the next time around, and generally protect their peace in spite of all of life's ups and downs. I'm glad you're here, and let's get into it. In this video, I share information to help you decide if you should try getting back with your ex. Be sure to watch to the end as I walk you through a reflective process for determining whether you should get back with your ex. And I leave you with the most important question to ask yourself to help determine if you should even try again. One of the most common breakup questions that people grapple with is whether or not they should try getting back with their ex. And this can be a really hard question to answer for a number of reasons. I would say there are at least 6 reasons why people struggle with answering this question as to whether they should get back with their ex or not. First, there's the issue of emotional attachment. You love the person or you care about them and you enjoyed certain experiences and feelings that you had with them, and the thought of going back to that feels good. You maybe feel lonely, or you feel sad, or you feel rejected, or any of these things. And because you cared about that person and cared for them, you crave that emotional closeness and connection that you either had at one point in the relationship or that you had up until the relationship ended, because maybe you didn't choose to end the relationship, or even if you chose to end the relationship, maybe there were very practical reasons why you felt you needed to do it. And of course, those emotional attachments were still there. There's also the investment in the relationship, the time that you invested, the money that you invested, your emotional energy and attention that you invested in the relationship. And so there can definitely be this sense of feeling like you've wasted time or energy or money or resources if you leave a relationship that you have invested significantly in. There are also the commitments. Maybe you have children together. Maybe you've purchased a home together or are renting an apartment together. You have commitments of all sorts of financial ties that could happen. You have, various things in both people's names. Maybe you've made promises to the person, and so there's this thought of needing to really come through on your promises and live up to the promises that you've made. Image can be another one. The image of you and that person as a couple or a family, to your friends, to your family members, to your community, especially if either of you are in any sort of public realm, and then to society, just these ideas and images that we have around being coupled, and people in your lives being used to you being together and everyone understanding that you are a couple. So image can play a factor in it being hard to determine if you should go ahead and try again. Then there is comfort, which is a huge factor in considering going back to a previous relationship. Even though there may have been things that you were not content with or unhappy about in the relationship, there's still a comfort there. It's still what you've been used to for a certain amount of time. So comfort is a huge factor in people rekindling past relationships, and a huge factor in people remaining in relationships that they may not be happy in. And then future potential, your thoughts and ideas about what the relationship could be or who your partner could be, the trajectory that your relationship or your partner may be on, or that you in your mind have the idea that you would like the relationship to be on. So the future potential of the relationship can be a big factor in people deciding to return to the relationship for the hope that it will be better down the road. I'd just like to take a moment to say that if anything about this video has been helpful to you, I strongly encourage you to join my email list. First, you'll get tips on breakup recovery, dating, and stress management. Second, you'll get first dibs at my group coaching programs where I help women move from feeling bitter after breakups to feeling better and to date better. Third, you'll get your free copy of the How to Get Over My Ex cheat sheet. All right, let's get back into it. Why do relationships end? Obviously, the answer to that question can be an endless list of reasons, but generally speaking, it's because one or both people are not content with the way things are in some way. So I always say it takes 2 people to be in a relationship and only 1 person to be out of the relationship. So it takes just one person to decide that this is not working for them in order for a relationship to end. And a relationship can end explicitly where someone says to the other person, I'm done, but it can also just fade over time in its quality. Like the quality of the relationship can just decline over time, in which it's not feeling good to one or both people. So relationships end because things about what created the relationship or what made the relationship good and enjoyable for both people, those things start to decline or go away in some way. So the details of what those things are can be all sorts of things. There could be a loss of trust because someone betrays someone in some way. There can be a loss or broken kind of agreements or unspoken agreements and contracts around things of parenting or housework. There can be financial things that come up, which is actually oftentimes a big one for breakups. There can be all sorts of reasons. It's just the idea that these two people, one or both of them, are not getting what they need and want from the relationship. So then the relationship comes to some sort of end, explicitly, indirectly, or over time. And so it's important to consider why a relationship has ended when you are thinking about whether you should go back to that partner or that relationship. Because the reality is, what am I going back to? What am I potentially going back to if I try again with this person? And then also, the other question is, why am I going back? Is it for reasons that I explained before? Is it for comfort? Is it because of the investment that I've made, the commitments or promises that I've made, the image of it all, the emotional attachment that I have to the person? And then asking ourselves, if it's for any of these reasons, are these reasons good enough for me to return and likely have a happy, thriving relationship? This brings up a whole other point of how that other person is feeling and thinking and behaving. You could be in a place where you are ready to make shifts or changes, or really already have made certain shifts or changes that would be beneficial to the relationship. But has that other person done that? Is that other person thinking in that way? Does that other person even think there's anything that they need to shift or should change in order for the relationship to work? These are important questions to ask yourself, because it's, love alone is not enough for a happy, thriving relationship. So loving that person is not enough to make the relationship work for both people. It is an important aspect of making the relationship work, but love alone does not make it work. So that emotional attachment alone does not make it work. It's very important to ask yourself, what are the things that broke this relationship down in the first place? And what has shifted enough for it to make sense for me to go back? Which brings me to the ultimate question. The number one question to ask yourself when considering returning to a relationship or a partner is, what has changed? What has changed? If you can't answer that question, then the answer is no. Don't go back. Because what is going to make this time around different than the first time or the first 5 times around? What were the things that were a problem in the relationship that led to it ending? And what of those things have shifted for the better, so there is a chance of the relationship working out for both people? And oftentimes, there are aspects of those things, of those breakdown issues, that we don't have an answer to. We don't know if they've changed because we've been out of the relationship with the person, or maybe even out of contact with the person. This would go to the idea of kind of redating them to get some more sense of what has shifted or what hasn't. So kind of going back to more of an exclusive dating relationship with the person before making that relationship commitment, to determine if things have shifted enough for the both of you in order to make a retry worthwhile. So those are important questions to ask yourself regarding the idea of returning to an ex. Just to recap, you would ask yourself what originally broke down the relationship, What would be my reasons for returning to the relationship? What is that other person's idea of what needs to shift and change, and what have they committed to shifting or changing? And you would ask yourself the ultimate question: what about the things that broke the relationship down have changed?
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to click the link to join my email list. See you soon.
Where I help women move from feeling bitter to better the second time around. No.